This podcast was recorded on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation.
Oh, how I love to be around you.
Hello, Mabbers.
Welcome back to it's actually Mayers. Mayers. May or May?
Sounds like you're trying to figure it out as you say it.
What do you think?
So
How
I'm
do we-
not
how
too
should
worried.
we
I think we should move
pronounce
on. Guys,
Oh,
this
okay.
week on Mad About You, Jad and I thought we'd unpack how our relationship, and I'm sure many other people's, has truly changed since becoming parents.
Yes.
And look at some of those hard truths under a microscope. Now, obviously, like the first year of parenthood flies by so fast that there's, I don't know, I would say barely any time to really reflect and perhaps even, acknowledge what's happening between the two of you because you are so hyper fixated on this new little one in your life. So it might not be the easiest conversation to have with your partner, but I think at some point you should definitely stop, and it's definitely one worth having. So yeah, something to think about. But our Ask Mom and Dad at the end of the episode also comes from a girl with a bit of a guilty conscience about something, and she wants a little bit of
What
advice.
does she do?
You'll have to wait and see, my friend.
Oh.
You'll have to wait and see. But I dare say neither of us like what she's done.
Oh,
so,
okay,
Yeah, a
well-
little bit of a teaser.
Well, before we get into it, guys, we have reached a new milestone in our relationship. I just wanted to announce it on the pod. We have gone past roommate status and we have entered sibling status, which I didn't know existed until now. But yeah, it's good to be here. Nice to arrive at this destination. I have mixed feelings and mixed thoughts, but alas, we have arrived. I did post a video about it on the line, and some of you guys had some interesting thoughts. But look, before I get into them, how do you feel about our new status?
I don't understand what you mean, firstly.
What do you mean?
I don't feel like anything's really changed.
Since when?
Well, what are you referring to?
Well, like
You said we entered sibling status,
Yeah.
what, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Like when have...
very recently.
Yeah, and what was the precursor that made us jump over into this new realm?
Well, there's zero intimacy. We really just make fun of each other and joke and piss each other off all the time.
You're right, you do piss me off a lot of the time.
So, and yeah, well, it's mainly you pissing me off, but that's where we're at. It's
Yeah.
a lot of bickering, light-hearted bickering, but you have a little bicker and then the next minute you're best friends again and you're just continuing on with your life.
Is this what you deem to be sibling status? I'm confused.
Yes, yeah. And the rumble, tumble, rough play,
Do we rumble, tumble, rough play? Are
Yeah.
you sure you're thinking about the same person?
yeah,
I don't rumble, tumble, rough play you.
yes we do.
You shit with the door open. That's what's really put us into sibling status. I think, is that what you're referring to?
No, but also even if I close the door, you're walking in anyway. You're coming in and opening the door, and you start talking to me with Fletcher in your arm.
No, I think to myself, if the door's left
You're like,
open,
what's Mummy doing, Fletcher? Mummy's trying to have some alone time.
that's free game. If you've left the door open and I walk past, Fletcher and I can stop and chat to you. That's
No,
fair
the
game.
door's closed.
I'd never open the door.
Yes, are you serious?
If there's a creak in it, I might talk through it,
A
but I wouldn't
crack?
open. Yeah, a crack. I wouldn't open
You've
the
come
door.
and opened the
if you were
door
dropping the kids off at the pool.
wide open and started chatting to me mid alone time.
Would you say that you are more the person that's helped us get to this status, or am I the person that's helped us
It's
get
you.
there? Okay, so what have I done?
Well, you're just the way that we interact.
When you had this idea, did you have any points you wanted to talk
I
about
have.
or
I'm
discuss?
telling you, it's just the constant little bickers, the joking, the way that we joke with one another, the way that there's a lack of quality time. We just kind of pass each other in the hall, trip each other over a little bit.
I've never tripped you, so...
No, I know, but you get what I'm saying. The gist of the
You
vibe.
haven't mentioned any of your beautiful qualities, like shooting with the door open, or when
You've mentioned that,
when you
haven't you?
spill something on your clothes, you just go to my wardrobe and just pick out a whole outfit of my clothes and chuck it on.
Yeah, that's a sibling thing to do.
I feel like
That's
you-
what I mean.
Yeah, but I don't do that. I don't do these things to you.
You wear my clothes.
I-
You love a Brandy Melville sweater. Don't lie.
I
Do not lie.
always shut the door when I go to the toilet, and I've worn your jumper twice in my whole life. I don't really think that. I don't even understand this sibling status thing. I don't really think we're there, but
Oh, really?
you seem to think
Where
we're
do you
there.
think we are?
I don't know. I think we're in a weird place, obviously, because
weird.
we've had a kid and we've lost probably a touch of that like connection sort of between us, like being a couple and a partnership. But I think that's what we're sort of here to talk about today. But I wouldn't say we're at sibling status. We're just at
Someone said on my video, hang in there, y'all will make it to step sibling status eventually.
what does that mean? It sounds like porno-y.
No, I think it means like we're going to break up and be step siblings.
Oh, well, 50% of marriages end in divorce, so toss a coin.
I don't like your statistics. I hate when you make it all factual. It just
Jad hates when something like this
have a
happens.
laugh and
So this
move
happened
on.
actually today in our life. So
here we go.
Jadé's, for anyone who cares, Fletcher was born on Jad's due date, right? So that's,
Due date, baby.
Yeah, he was a due date baby. And when we asked the doctors, like, oh, does that happen regularly? They were like, oh, it's about 4 and a bit %, 4 to 5%. We're like, okay, that's 1 in 20, great. And then today, Jad
No,
was
my
talking.
brain doesn't do that.
Jad was
Start
talking
doing
about
the
her next due
percentiles
date this year, and she goes, "Oh, I need to remember if it's the 4th or the 5th." And I said to her, "Who cares? Like, it's around that time. Like, what does it matter?" And she goes, "I need to know in case he's a due date baby again." And I said, "Yeah, but technically, if you get pregnant another 19 times, it's not going to happen again, you know." And she goes, "Oh, I don't like maths. I don't like numbers. Don't tell me that." Like, she just thinks that she's going to have a due date baby every time now because she had it once. Like, I don't think she really.
my thought is I've had one now. The chances are higher of me having another one, but actually, statistically, it's lower.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, it's actually the same. But technically, you shouldn't have one for the next 19
And
pregnancies.
this is why I will not be teaching the kids math.
But statistics says it's 1 in 20 every time.
I'm going to teach them about their sibling status, though.
Yeah, well, let's get stuck into actually divulging a little bit about how perhaps our relationship has shifted over the last year.
Can I just read out this one more comment?
Oh yeah, sure. It better be good that you've interrupted the start of the pod to read it.
two more. This
Oh.
one was good. Hi, together for 12 years, married for 5. It gets worse. Hope this helps. I thought that was so funny.
But I don't have a problem with it. So when you say it gets worse, I enjoy our banter
I'm
and
not
going
saying
at each
sibling
other
status is bad. I think it's quite cute.
Oh,
It's like your friendship's developed. That's how I'm treating it.
sure.
Right?
I'm fine if you close
Because
the
you
door. while
have
go
to
the
be,
toilet,
you
though.
have to be besties to survive this kind of stage of your life. If you're not friends, then you're fucked. Sorry, hate to say it, but if you got into a relationship there where you don't have a friendship already built and then you have kids, you're gonna really struggle through the hard times. But you and I, we try to laugh it off, we move forward. Like, I feel like that's a sibling thing to do. Like, you bicker and then you move on and then it's all good the next 5 minutes. That's what I mean by sibling status. I feel like you're saying that we've gone and legally become siblings.
I took it
and you're
as
a bit
more of like
confused.
a negative, like your relationship's hit this point where it's at this,
It's tongue in cheek.
Oh, okay.
Locke's very. Did you just burp?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry to our producer who's wearing
What the
headphones. That went
actual-
straight into her
You
ears.
can tell how comfortable he's got.
Sorry.
Because he's just burped down the microphone.
It was an accident.
Immediate jail time. Anyway, I think it's nice. Obviously, it would be nice if we were, in a romantic relationship, but the sibling status has its own perks. And this is the last comment I wanted to read out. This person's a bit concerned. Hey, so y'all need to schedule dates ASAP. I'm not joking. This seems funny until suddenly it's not. Romance is important. Make space for it. Got 40 likes. So...
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Romance is definitely important and keeping that little spark alive, because I know that when you have the conversation sometimes with people about kids and how your relationship sort of shifts. I've heard like a few people go like, it's okay, like you'll have your time again together one day, like when the kids are at school
30.
sleeping, staying at people's houses, or when they leave home again, like, and that could be that's 20 years in the future, but people say like one day you'll get that back. And I don't necessarily think that's like a good way of looking at it, because I think if you don't, water your own flowers, like they're not going to just continue to grow for that 20 years.
Do you feel like you're watering my flower? Wait, that That's not what I meant. Sorry to our parents, but that's not what I meant at all. I meant the flower of our relationship.
Yeah, I understood what you meant.
Whoa.
I don't think I'm doing it as well as I definitely could. I could at the moment, but I would say that it's probably because we're in this weird scenario now where, like, beforehand, when you were pregnant for the first time, it's just you and me still. It's still us, we're a couple. We're, heavily involved with each other, and we just have each other to look after as well as ourselves, but obviously, and then when this, new little one comes along, he becomes sort of your everything and the thing that you look after every day. And although you are now pregnant again and probably need a little of extra, assistance or help, instead of me giving that to you, I probably just attempt to sink myself into Fletch a little bit more to alleviate you and make sure that you have less to do and less to worry about. But that might not feel like I'm filling your cup like I was the first time around, but it's the only way I know how this time around. Because I feel like if it was, the things I did before, like, cook for you or give you a massage or play with your hair every night or,
You still do all those things?
Yeah, but I'd probably do them less than I did in the past.
We just have less time.
Yeah, so I think that's a bit of a shift, but that's just like I think a lot of people speak about the second pregnancy being so different, because, the first one is this like nice magical thing that you get to experience with your partner with no pressure or externalities. And now it's like you're just pregnant, but life is moving 100 miles an hour around us and we don't really get to sit in it and enjoy it at all. Or you probably, don't get to enjoy it as much as you enjoyed it the first time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like we've already gotten into it, but with that, let's get into it.
I think the main shift that I've felt from, pre-baby to now is that I don't feel like it's just us anymore. Like I think before our bub came along, it was just you and me, like we were us. But now it's almost like we have different roles and different titles. Like now that he's here, we're parents and like we're mum and dad. We're not like us as a couple anymore. So although we, are on the same team and fighting for the same thing and trying to keep all the cogs turning at all times, it's like we no longer have like much special you and me time, like us time. It's kind of like the us time is now us as a three, if ever we have, when we go for walks or go out and do like adventures together. It's not just you and me where we get to, he even doesn't like allow us to talk anymore. Like if you and I start having a conversation and give him less attention, he like arcs up and wants us to like bring it back to him, So it's even hard for us to communicate now when he's around because, it's like he wants us to be focused on him.
You simply don't have time to have quality time, basically. And in the times that you would maybe get to have it, you're trying to be productive. So it's like your relationship falls to the bottom of your list of priorities. And I think that's really sad, but it's also what so many people say is that you actually really need to work at your relationship. Locke and I were actually talking about this the other night, and it's similar to going to the gym, right? And going and working out every day versus going once every 3 months and like expecting to have the same results. Like you're just not going to. So a relationship is very much the same, but especially when you have kids, it's like if you're not putting time in to work on it, and by work on it, I don't mean like you have to sit down and like nut out your issues or whatever. I just mean like have quality time where you actually get to be together one-on-one and have conversations that you're not going to have when your kid's around because you're both distracted doing something. Pass me the wipes. Has he had lunch? He's throwing this on the ground. We've got to wash this. We've got to get here next, having that quality time where you get to sit and actually have a discussion that's like maybe not centered around the your baby even or your child, and is about something that you haven't had a chance to chat about for ages. And I think that one thing that a lot of people don't get to do when their relationship evolves into this is when the kids become the priority, is that they don't even know what the other person's thinking and feeling most of the time, because you don't have time to chat and go, hey, how are you going at the moment? Like a really simple check-in can be really important. And I feel like we try to do that, even if it's like sparingly.
You're good at that.
Yeah, I try to get on your level and go, hey, how are you feeling these days? And like you generally would ask me back as well. So I think it's really important. to do that, to make sure that you are not just getting lost in your own mind with your own chaos and you're across theirs as well, because, you know, you might be suffering, but they might be suffering more, or you feel like your load's a lot, and then you have a discussion and you realize that they feel their load's really a lot. And if you're not talking about these things, you're not communicating, you're both just like losing touch with the other, and you kind of get wrapped up in this world of, it can really grow into like a resentment of, I feel like I'm doing more than you. And then until you sit down and realize, oh, you're actually doing just as much as me in different ways, you can both kind of end up putting this distance between yourselves where you're not really understanding one another. And you end up feeling frustrated throughout the day because it's like, oh, I'm doing this thing again that I keep having to do and you're not doing it. And then you realize that they're doing this thing again that they feel like they've been doing and you've not touched it. So yeah, it's really important to keep that stream of communication going regularly, even if it's just for a couple of minutes, quickly to go, hey, how are you going? How are you feeling with everything at the moment? It's so easy to lose touch of that. And we hadn't, I'm sure we have, you know, on multiple occasions where we've both reached a bit of a breaking point, and then you come to a head and you realize that you're both feeling the same thing. And it's just how life is at the moment. But it does help to get it out and to understand the other person's perspective as well. And then, you know, it's kind of similar to the, like, if everyone threw their issues into a pile, they take their own back. But on a smaller scale, it's like, oh, okay, well, like, my partner's dealing with a lot and I don't want to add to their plate. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and maybe have some more understanding moving forward, you know, of how they're feeling, which is enough for you to just continue doing what you're doing. But yeah, it gets really, really, really difficult. It does. And finding time to have those conversations is hard, but I think absolutely necessary in order for you to not continue to put space between the both of you, basically.
And it's something that I remember when I was chatting to friends of mine who already had kids and were, you know, a few years ahead of Jad and I. It was one thing that they really said affected their relationship when they had a kid, and when everything's up in the air and you're sleep deprived and, you know, life's like very different for the initial year, 2 years. They said to try and not keep score with your partner. You know, it's not about like, you did this once, I'm going to do this once, and then I've done it 3 times, so you need to catch up and do it another 2 times. That's not how you should be in your relationship. Is that you should essentially always be trying to, you know, make life a little bit easier for your partner or help them where you can. And that, yeah, as Jad said, like, you're going to have different roles, different responsibilities, different chores, different times to step up, different times to take over when the other one doesn't have as much in the tank. And that the trick is to not keep score, because if you keep score with your partner, things are going to turn toxic, things are going to turn resentful, and that's when you'll start arguing and bickering. And I would say already your tether is probably a little bit shorter when you've had a baby, because, yeah, you've been thrown in the deep end. Everything is lessened. You're probably having less time with your friends. You're probably having less quality time with your partner, less quality time with yourself. You're probably maybe eating a little bit less. You're definitely sleeping less. So your tether's already shorter. And so if you start, you know, keeping a tab with your partner on what they've done and what you need to do and stuff like that, I think it's an unhealthy way to be in a relationship. And I think Jad and I have definitely done it at times. It's not to say, like, acknowledging that it's a bad thing to do or the wrong thing to do doesn't necessarily just mean you're not going to do it, you know. So I remember being told that information, but that I've definitely felt at times, you know, when I'm like, oh, I keep having to do this thing, you know, and like I feel like Jad's not doing it. And I'm sure she's felt the exact same, you know, way towards me. And it is one of those things which I think a good way of maybe overcoming it is to I was taught once, like, when you want to truly understand someone else's perspective, like, try and like re-explain their point or their argument back to them to, like, make sure that you understand what they're trying to get across to you. And I think that that's like, you could reshape that into, like, maybe like arguing for your partner, like how much they're doing. Like, if you start in your head listing all the amazing things that they're doing for you and your relationship and your kid and stuff, you come up with that big list and you go, okay, they are actually doing all these, you know, fantastic things, and that might help to alleviate those feelings. But yeah, as I said, there's different times where, you know, someone's going to need to pick up the slack, and when your partner might not be feeling, you know, 100 and you need to take over. But
balance is not black and white. That's the thing. It's like, it's going to look different every day.
I just think it's never 50-50. You know, a relationship is never 50-50.
No,
and that's
it's
something
not.
you have to understand
But it
and
levels
be okay
out,
with.
basically, you know, in time. That's the thing. It's always going to level out. And yeah, you just try not to get stuck in, you know, the like silent war over who's more exhausted or who's doing more.
When you said before, you said like, you know, you need to make quality time and you need to make sure that you're.
Yes.
I think that that's all like well and good to say, right? Like obviously it's
Sure.
the right thing. Like, yes, you should be going on dates still and making time for your partner and being romantic and stuff. But how do you actually like practically put that into place? Because I feel like saying it is one thing, but doing it is entirely different, because I don't even think that we do that now. So I feel like you're sort of giving advice to people and telling them to do this thing, which we're not even probably doing ourselves.
Oh, we're not doing it enough. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you actually practically do that? Because
I think you need to schedule. You literally need to schedule in time and make it a priority as much as you would. For example, we get a babysitter when we go and do this, right? It's work and we're prioritizing that. And so we bring someone in to look after Fletcher so we can come and do this. We need to do the same for our relationship. Like, why? It's almost like we're prioritizing this more than our relationship in terms of yeah, like how we spend our time, right? So, and it's easy to do that, you know, you go to work and you try to build your career and follow your dreams and, you know, live out your passions and pay the bills. And so it's something that feels like a necessity, but is your relationship not the most important thing in your life, you know? And, you know, I'm sure not for everyone, but for me, it absolutely is. And I know for you, it absolutely is. And no, we haven't been prioritizing it in the way that we've been prioritizing other things. So it's as simple as us sitting down and scheduling that time. And I know it's hard and feels really forced to schedule quality time and time to be intimate. And I don't mean you don't need to schedule time to go book a hotel and you do your thing. It might just...
What thing?
It might be as simple as, by intimacy, I mean like having a deeper conversation, having a cuddle, walking alone and holding hands and just being engaged in one another, in what the other one's saying, not sitting next to each other on the couch for 45 minutes at the end of the night on your phones. That's not quality time. That's time in the same room together, but you're not having quality time together. Even something that we used to really enjoy was that we would sit in bed and watch TV at the end of the day before we had kids. And that was like a habit, a routine. We'd get our dinner and we'd sit in bed and watch TV, and we loved it. And I'm sure that felt like quality time because we didn't need it. We had plenty of quality time throughout the day. So it just felt like added time together. That was nice. But now if we sit and do that, I feel like I'm wasting time almost. I'm wasting time with you. I'm like, no, I actually need to be talking to you. I need to be looking into your eyes. I need to be like touching your hand or whatever, you know, like it can be as simple as literally having a conversation with one another, even for half an hour, go for a walk and spend that time together. And yeah, I agree. We're not doing it nearly enough, but it's something that actually needs to be scheduled. It feels really foreign to schedule in literal quality time with your partner because you're in the same house, you sleep in the same bed. But I think it absolutely needs to be done when you have kids and when you have so many other priorities that you're constantly trying to balance. Remember that this should be number one, because if you don't, like I said, nourish this thing, for example, you know, like the gym analogy, like you can't expect to go once a year and then have the dream body. It's not going to happen. You're not going to have your dream relationship if you work on it once a year. So it's something that you need to consistently work at. And yes, it's very hard, especially when you have a child who's not sleeping, because that time at the end of the evening is really important. It's like your only time alone, unless you're getting a babysitter in. So yeah, you kind of just need to make it work. Like find someone who can look after Bub. And even if you can't find someone who can look after Bub, go to the gym together and find a creche that you can leave Bub at for, you know, even half an hour. You don't have to train. Like go sit in a corner and talk to one another. I feel like there's ways of making things work. But yeah, you need to work at it. It doesn't just happen. Absolutely.
I understand you said, obviously, like we get a sitter for this, for example, right? But yeah. I have this, I don't know, might be an odd complex. You might not feel the same, but I feel like it's okay to get assistance and help to do work, but I feel like it's like I would feel almost like selfish to get assistance and help to go and enjoy time by myself. With you, like together, like ourselves. Like I just have this weird complex around it.
Yeah, you do.
Do you know what I mean?
You do.
Like I don't want to ask someone for a few hours of help so I can go and relax. Yeah. But I don't mind asking so I can go and work.
You feel like it's your responsibility unless you absolutely have to, and have to for you is work, but have to for you is not quality time.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily like I agree with you to the fact that quality time doesn't have to be like going outside of your house as the two of you doing something like renting a hotel or going to dinner. Like they're great things to do if you can do them, if you can manage them. If your baby sleeps and they're fine with sitters, that's awesome. Good on you. Not really the biggest option for us, but something that we did the other night, which, you know, was different and was nice, but it feels like it condensed that sort of intimacy and connection into like, you know, an hour, but it felt like it made up for like weeks of lack of, perhaps, was when we got into bed at the end of the night. You know, Fletch was down and he was, you know, snoozing, and we never know for how long, but, you know, we were excited to get a bit of us time, and we got into bed, and it's almost like the default is, you know, what Jad said before, like, what are we going to watch? Like, what is going to help us switch off from life and, you know, like a bit of escapism. And Jad was like, no, let's do what we used to do, where we used to just like ask each other questions, right? And it's like, they're not questions like, how was your day? What'd you have for lunch? What was the last funny thing that Bob said? They're like intricate, like intimate questions, you know? It was like, what's something that you've been proud of, you know, in the last week, or, you know, what's something that you think most people don't like about you, you know, like questions like that, which kind of like get you to be introspective and think and talk and open up to your partner. And so we literally sat in bed for like, I don't know, an hour and 90 minutes and literally just held hands and asked each other questions like that. And then when you have that hour or 90 minutes of connection, trust me, you're going to feel so much better as a couple than if you chucked on Peaky Blinders and watched Peaky Blinders for an hour. So, and I'm not saying you need to have those conversations every night. I'm just saying that if you're feeling that lack of connection with your partner, or, you know, you haven't had that sort of intimate time, and you don't have the capacity to go out and, you know, spend time together romantically, that it doesn't need to be big things. It can just be as simple as like sitting, talking, and actually connecting over, you know, like essentially having a conversation like you would have used to when you were, you know, just the two of you. So yeah, Jad had the idea to do that the other night, and I didn't actually tell her at the time. I didn't at the end go, that was really nice, but I felt that was a very nice thing, and it was a great idea. And, you know, I definitely felt like we got tenfold out of that than what we would have if we watched, you know, a comedian or something together in bed. So
I would have forgotten that night. It would have just been another night that blurred into a night of watching TV. Yeah,
exactly. So those like working on your relationship after you have a kid can be as simple as, you know, a conversation in bed together and a connection like that. Or it doesn't have to be, you know, big things and big gestures. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about working on your relationship.
I think that it's also really important not to get stuck comparing your current relationship to the one that you had prior to having kids, because they're very different, and it's not fair for you to kind of look back on that and go, we don't do that anymore, we don't do this anymore, we're not like that anymore, because your life is entirely different. Like, you can't expect it to be the same as it was before, when you've had such a huge change that's occurred. And over, you know, if there's a bit of time that's happened now, you know, you've had, for example, where Fletcher's about to turn 1, that's a year of being parents. And no, our relationship is not the same as it was before, because we're different, our priorities are different, our life is different, our everyday is different, the way that we feel every morning is different. You know, there's different challenges, everything's different. But
we're also still, I would say, like learning how to be together in this new throuple, you know? So when we were a year into our relationship, just the two of us, like we didn't have it all together, you know, like we were still learning and trying to be good partners, and, you know, learn what the other partner likes and doesn't like, and, you know, what if you have certain behaviors or things that you do that make them react, you know, like there's plenty of learning to do within a relationship. And then when you add another person into that relationship and everything shifts, it's like you start that learning curve again, right? And we're only a year into that, so there's not to say that in 5 years' time we might have, you know, figured all that out and be back to, you know, happy-go-lucky and you know, being really intimate again and feeling really connected. But I'm sure there's a learning curve for that as well.
I shouldn't say find, because we're not going to find more time. It doesn't just appear. We'll make more time, and that will build, and we'll get better and better at that. But I think that I think the comparison can be really hard, is when you look back and you think about how it used to be. It's just an unhealthy way to spend time, because it's not ever going to be the same again. And I know that's a scary thought if you're, for example, going to become a parent soon. And I remember the one thing that Locke and I used to say to each other quite a lot before Fletcher was born, when I was pregnant, was that we'd look at each other and go, it's never going to be just us again. And that carries a lot of meaning, I feel. And it carried a lot of weight for us in that we're so used to life being just us two, and that we've grown this life together that we both really enjoy and love. And whilst we were very, very, very excited to welcome Fletcher into the world, there was an element of like almost grieving this life that you know is going to be different forever. So it's important to remember that when you're kind of having moments of reflection of like, oh, I miss that we used to do this and that was so easy and we do it. But yeah, it's not the same. It's never going to be. So try not to compare your relationship now to how it was, and think about how you can improve on the relationship that you have moving forward and what you can do, because there's so much new beauty at the same time. There's so much new depth at the same time, and that's all something that you wouldn't have experienced without, you know.
I would also say it's temporary though. So all those things that you miss and might be, you know, temporarily not able to be done, I think that there will come a time where those things will be easy again. So if you're a couple that loves going out to dinner, and that's like your thing, you're foodies, or you're a couple that loves traveling, like, yeah, those things are going to be way harder when you have young kids. But that being said, when your kid's 6-7 years old and can talk and communicate with you, and you can, you know, you have a relationship where all those things are super possible. Like, you can integrate those things back into your life. So
my mum goes out clubbing more than I ever have now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really looking forward to get back to doing. Yeah, I can't wait to
maybe not clubbing, but bars, you know, goes out with the girls, goes traveling with her friends. I'm like, you know, things come back around. And, you know, I'm sure those are the days where you look back and go, I miss having my little kids running around causing a ruckus around the house. But yeah, it's this constant like contradiction, isn't it?
You also, I would say, you have your old life and relationship which you reminisce on, and, you know, whether it's like little in-jokes that you have with your partner or things that you say which give them a little tickle, and, you know, it lights them up, is that you have all those things still, but just in a new way. So now, like, Jad and I have little in-jokes, and there might be things that Fletch says, or like things that he does that we just find funny, like, so you'll have all those experiences in your relationship but more, and they'll sort of like feel different and new. And yeah, it almost feels like an upgraded version of, you know, our in-jokes and little silly things like that. So yeah, I don't know, it is definitely a shift, and I would say you pour far less into the cup of your partner, which is a shame to say out loud, because when it's just the two of you, you can really just fill that thing. You can spoil them. You can make sure they're looked after.
Well, but yeah, it's important to keep the balance between partner and parent, and maybe we need to focus on that a bit more moving forward. Because before Fletcher was born, we constantly said, you know, we're always going to put our relationship first. Have we been doing that at all?
Yeah, we did have chats like that, right? Where we were like, you know, it's important to...
Us comes first, and it's going to benefit the kids as well. So that's really important. And we've both just totally forgotten about the us.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like what we were talking about at the start, where I said it's easier said than done, all these things, like make quality time and, you know, do this and do that. It's all well and good to say, but it's about actually putting it into practice. And yeah, we did have those conversations where we'd say we need to show them that this is like what a healthy relationship's like, and it'll, you know, help them have healthy relationships in the future. And we even said things like, you know, when we both come in the door, when we've been out at work or something, then like if Jad and Fletcher in the room, like I'm always going to kiss Jad first and then go to Fletch, so he knows, you know, that he knows that his mum's important to me, and that's a relationship. And then as soon as he crawls at you, you
he beams, and you're like, oh.
You can't walk past him and go kiss his mum, you know. So I have to pick him up and give him you know. So it's all these things. You have all these ideas of what it's going to be like, and how you're going to do it. And just let me tell you, it's all a whirlwind when it happens. But
give yourself the grace to know that everyone's going through it.
Do you think that your relationship with like friends who don't have kids has shifted? Because obviously our relationship has to be affected. We're in the same house together, but I'm saying, you know, you have friends that do have kids and then don't have kids. Like, have you seen a difference in like one, you know, understanding what you're going through more, being there more for you?
I don't think the friendship's shifted, no. But there's definitely, I didn't know Jack about being a parent until I became one, and you can't empathize or understand until you become one. So there's definitely like a lack of understanding, I'm sure, but it doesn't. I don't think that it means that the relationships changed. No, I just have less time to go and see them in settings that I normally would, which is usually in the evenings, right? So that's unfortunate. But, you know, my closest girlfriends, they're always doing their best to make time to see me in the times that they know are best for me as well. So the timing's shifted around some friendships, but some are always, I feel, like going to be there to understand that your life's different now and do their best to like cater to you, you know? And also, I don't expect them to just cater to me either. It's like they have their own shit going on. Everyone has their own shit going on. So, like, I can't, because, like, my 10 is their 10. Do you know what I mean? My 10 now feels like a million compared to what my 10 was, but it's still 10. And for them, their 10 is still 10. So it's like you can't expect someone to drop their life because your 10 is harder than it used to be. Some people have this expectation around like once they become a parent, it's like they're shocked that their friends aren't dropping everything for them all the time. And it's like, well, did you drop everything for someone who had a baby? And, you know, did you understand what that really felt like until you did it yourself? And is that fair to expect that of your friends who might be going through stuff that they're not sharing with you because they know you're going through a lot? So maybe they don't want to dump on you anymore because they feel like, well, I don't want to add to her plate, you know? So I don't think that's fair. I've just gone off on a tangent about something else, but to answer your question.
Not even really what I asked, but I'd love to hear about it.
To answer your question, I don't think the friendship's changed. It's just the way that you spend time is different. And unfortunately, if you have friends who are spending time in the evenings, you might be doing that a bit less. Sure. That's life. Your whole life's different. So, of course, that's going to be different too.
So having one and where we are now, and we say that we haven't really prioritized us got, you know, our heads above the water, and we haven't figured out how to, you know, really be intimate or have our relationship work for us the way it sort of used to.
I feel like there's pockets of that appearing.
Yeah, of course. There are pockets of that. But what do you think is going to happen when we have a second one? Like, how is that going to be affected? Because
I think we're going to realize that if we're not making time, it's going to crumble a lot quicker.
Yeah, but how do you suppose we're going to make time when everything becomes
I think we need to start now so that we have almost routine. It almost feels like a routine of time that we spend together, you know? So it becomes practiced and a part of like our lives, and like going to work every day, you know, it needs to be the same. It needs to be, you need to make it a priority. You need to make sure it's definitely happening, because if you don't show up to work, what happens? You get fired. If you're not showing up to your relationship, what's going to happen?
Let me guess, you get fired.
You get fired. Yeah, but it's true, right? Everyone says that. Like, I've heard so many times from so many people, don't get divorced in the first 5 years of having kids.
That is a weird one that I've heard as well.
People are saying that, and it's like, because it really takes a toll on your relationship, but we can counteract that. It's up to us to put the time and effort in.
Sure.
And prioritize it.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah,
fair enough. So essentially, I asked Mum and Dad this week. I picked it out because I knew it would ruffle Jad's feathers and mine. But here we go. It says, "Hey Jad and Locke, this is a tough one for me to admit to, as I already know how you both feel about cheating, but I figured you might still be able to help me. I recently cheated on my partner of 3.5 years. He's the love of my life, and I was drinking one night and just made a silly decision that I really regret. I know it was wrong, and I wish I didn't do it. The person I slept with was a friend of a friend."
Okay, you didn't even have a smooch. You slept with them.
Wait, don't judge them, man. I'm not even at the end of the Ask Mum and Dad yet.
Go
Sorry,
on.
there's no judgment
Sorry, it
here,
happens
guys.
to the best of us.
We listen and we don't judge. Well, I don't anyway. It says, "The person I slept with was a friend of a friend from overseas who was just visiting Australia. They've since left to live back in their own country. I'm so torn with what to do because I feel so guilty and want to tell my partner, but of course I'm scared that he will leave. A part of me also wants to just pretend like it didn't happen, bury it all, and just move on. Although there's no way my partner could ever find out, I hate the idea of this looming over us, or more so me, forever. Help."
There is definitely a way he could find out. Surely. Everyone always finds out.
Well, I mean, if it was just the two of them, like no one else saw them. They went to like a share
he
house or
sees
something.
she has a partner. He feels guilty, the guy who she cheated with, and goes, "Hey, buddy, just want to let you know, 5 years ago, you guys are married now. If it's 5 years later, you're pregnant with this person's child." And this guy's DM'd him going, I slept with your missus 5 years ago.
Yes, that's
He finds out.
That's definitely possible. But let's just
It's going to hang over your head for life, brother.
Let's just pretend that he can't find out because it was just the two of them involved. No one else knows. He's gone back to his country. He doesn't give two shits about it. Only she knows.
The guilt would literally consume me to the point where I'd be thinking about it all the time, and it would make me so anxious about everything all the time.
Yeah, I think I would be in a very similar boat to Jad, where
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could have a solid relationship with someone knowing that I was keeping that secret from
Also,
them.
like
it wouldn't work for me, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who can lie about stuff like that and move on. So
Is it the love of your life if you've done that, knowing what you're doing? And I'm sorry, I get you said you had a few drinks, but like it's not like you fell and accidentally landed on his lips with yours and then
it
that
wasn't just
say
the lips, mate.
Like you've gone and you've had a bit of time with this person to think about your actions before actually engaging in an act that you've chosen to engage in. So
yes, obviously
what
it's a
does
choice.
love of your life mean to you? I think you need to ask yourself that question because I love Smith's chips and, I could say they're the love of my life, but, are they?
I actually don't understand this analogy. You're
Well,
saying
I'm
if you
just
had another
saying,
packet.
I would cheat on Smith's chips with some other chips and not feel any way about it. So I'm not going to say they're the love of my life, am I?
That was interesting.
Chicken-
I'm still wrapping my head
chicken
around that one as
crimpy.
well, if anyone else is trying to figure that one out still. But I couldn't agree more that I think that you're not going to have a solid relationship with this person who you claim to be the love of your life if you don't tell them, because it sounds like you're going to be riddled with guilt for the rest of time,
Yes.
which means that you're not going to be able to fully sort of immerse yourself in this relationship. And I think that, as we always say, honesty is the best policy. So you tell your partner if he leaves, unfortunately, that's his every right and prerogative to do so, because that is, probably, we deem it to be a not nice thing to do to your partner. Yeah. But at the same time, there's plenty of people who forgive and forget and understand that people make mistakes and shit happens,
Some people forgive and forget, or forgive and remember, let's be honest.
Yeah, so you could try that route, hope for the best with your partner, and then, your relationship, I would say, probably has a higher probability of success if
I know
you're
people
honest.
who've come clean about cheating and then their partner's gone LMAO same.
Oh my God, that actually, yeah.
You could be in that scenario where he goes, so funny that you say that, and then he's maybe done the same thing. You both come clean, you're stronger than ever.
That actually is a wild scenario that has happened to friends of ours. Yeah. So it is possible, but I say highly improbable that's the case with you. I
personally think you need to fess up because there's layers to this.
Yeah, I think you have to fess up as well for your own sake and for the sake of your partner. I don't think it's fair to continue a relationship with someone once you've cheated with them. I don't actually understand how people do it.
We know, sweetheart.
I don't get how you lie in the bed next to someone after you've slept with someone else. It doesn't make sense to me.
Every time we talk about cheating,
but
spirals.
Yeah, I feel like if you want this relationship to have even the slightest chance of working, you have to be honest and hope for the best with your partner.
Thanks for being honest with us, though. So.
Yeah, it would be a not nice one to get off your chest. And now it's not only you and that person know, because obviously the DM comes from a real name. So I could actually just reach out to your partner.
Oh shit!
But obviously I would not do that, because then we'd probably stop getting DMs, wouldn't we?
But we'll threaten you with it. Just to
I will
you
not
out
threaten you with it either.
Okay,
Sorry,
right.
I haven't showed Jad your name, so don't stress. But that's all we got for you this week. Let's just end with honesty is the best policy.
Yeah.
And we hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit more about how we're struggling with our intimacy post baby, but working on it slowly and steadily with late night chats in bed. So if you are enjoying Mad About You at the moment, we would appreciate you leaving us a review or a comment. It means a lot, and we look forward to chatting with you next week.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you soon.
Bro, you sound
God, hopefully with a better voice. Bye.
Bye.